6 months. Half a year. That's how much time flew by since the M2 MacBook Air was released. That's wow. The hype has passed on, first issues were somewhat fixed, and now I can recommend it for purchase. But should I? What if I tell you that after the hype is gone, my views on this laptop have changed? I've used it some more, my friends used it, and now I have much more feedback to share with you. So how does this laptop fit in line? Is it the gray sheep or a proud bearer of the renowned name? Let's find out. I have said a lot about its design already, so I'll keep it short. It's still great. It's thin and light, just like you would expect from the MacBook Air. Cold aluminum feels sturdy and gives that premium feeling. Plus, it's totally fanless. Rounded bezels make it modern and unique, especially if you compare it to the M1 Air. Wedge shape is great and all, but it does show its age sometimes. Previous Air felt like a sheet of paper. Thanks to that wedge design, M2 Air, on the other hand, feels very industrial. Do you know that Bauhaus style furniture? Robust, metallic, and machine-made in every detail. The M2 Air, this design just screams I can do things. It gives a feeling of a real workhorse, the machine you need to use every day. The same feeling I get from the 14-inch Pro, but there it's even stronger. So yeah, the design is still great and really inspiring. Somehow. In these 6 months of using this machine, I've had almost no complaints about the screen. It's much brighter and bigger than before, but after you use the MacBook Pro for some time, the screen of the Air starts to feel aged and lag behind. It's like comparing the screens of the iPhone 14 Pro and the iPhone 11. One is perfectly smooth with ProMotion, amazing brightness, contrast, and thin bezels, and another has thicker bezels, less contrast, and lower brightness. I'm not saying that it's disappointing in any way, but you need to understand that it's not perfect. In 2022, it's a great screen and it's much better than in previous models, but for $1,200, I get that it's a baseline machine for basic users and it's a MacBook, but I wish this screen was a little better. What do I want? Thinner bezels or better contrast. Existing contrast is fine, but on maxed out brightness, you sometimes see that blacks are not really blacks. This is a typical problem for all IPS screens, but Apple won't give us mini LED here, that's for sure. The speakers are another controversial part, if you ask me. I love them at first, but I still don't get why they didn't put them in the same place as on the M1 Air. Making those 4 speakers front facing can solve all problems. Well, they do sound great, not gonna lie. But the grills are near the hinge, which makes the sound a little too flat. But it's still deeper compared to M1 Air. Of course, it all depends on your music preferences, but still. Now to the most interesting part, the performance. My machine is the absolute stock with 8 gigs of unified memory and 256 gig SSD. In previous videos, I said a lot of good things about the performance and some bad things. And after 6 months and accumulating feedback from multiple people, I can confidently say the performance of this laptop directly depends on your workflow. Some of my friends that upgraded from the previous Air say that the speed difference is real and others kind of regret updating. To make it easier for you, I'll break the performance down into tasks. First task, checking emails, messaging, watching YouTube, browsing, totally fine, but only if your number of tabs is relatively low. Once you accumulate 15 to 20 tabs in one tab group, things might get stuttery. Pages will need to reload, which is not what you want to see on a $1,200 machine, but let's be frank, most of the time you won't have so many tabs opened, so your browsing experience will be enjoyable. Next activity, more demanding, editing huge Excel files or huge documents. Laptop handles small documents great, but when files get larger, you really start noticing the lag of memory. Big files load with delays and sometimes can freeze for a second. It's very hard to catch on camera, but believe me, if you want to work with big chunks of data, you definitely have to upgrade the memory to 16 gigs. And the final task, creative ones, editing videos, photos, 3D rendering, and all that. This laptop can, without a doubt, do all that, but not for long. It gets hot, like really hot.
Till it's cool, just cool.
And when it gets hot, It throttles. No heatsink means no heat dissipation. Is it really that bad? No, it's not terrible. Even throttled M2 works great. If you want to eliminate even the chances of throttling, try enabling the low power mode in battery settings. It will limit the power usage, thus cutting those performance peaks. But this mode won't allow for the chip to run so hot. In my M2 Air, I've turned this mode on for the on-battery usage. This gives me an extra hour of battery life and preserves that chip of thermal overloads. But you all know that already. You want to know weather, crashes, freezes, and does weird stuff. I can confidently say that thermal throttling isn't the problem of this machine. It's the memory. I know, I said many times that this problem is not noticeable in real life, and it isn't, but only if you stick to what Apple wants you to do. Light browsing and messaging is exactly what this laptop is for, at least in its base configuration. But as soon as you cross that imaginary line, you start seeing stutters. The base model has only 8 gigs of unified memory and a slow 256 gig SSD. The macOS itself requires 4 to 5 gigs of memory to work properly. Add to it some memory allocation for graphics and you'll get about 3 gigabytes of RAM for your tasks. Here is how it looks with only 5 browser tabs opened and a messaging app. 8 gigs are already used and the load on the CPU is minimal. All those performance cores are just idling, while the memory is almost at its limits. I find that very disturbing. So the laptop uses swap memory, and with small tasks, the slowdowns are minor. A browser tab reloads or a video reloads, minor stuff. But when you start loading this machine with tabs, opened apps, and background processes, you almost can see how it struggles to deliver. Shipping MacBooks with 8 gigs of RAM in 2022 is not a very good decision. I'll repeat myself once again. If you are planning on using this laptop for truly basic, everyday tasks, without keeping the memory full all the time, it will work just fine. But in this case, you will have to sell this laptop in a year when the new macOS comes out and memory becomes even a bigger issue. That's why I would ask you to buy this machine with at least 16 gigs of unified memory. You know how I hate being wrong? But I don't want to misguide you. So if your use cases are limited to browsing and casual document typing, the baseline is fine, but if you want to do something more RAM intensive, upgrade the RAM to 16 gigs. That's my verdict on the performance. And I have a few smaller issues that must be addressed. First, the keyboard. On one hand, it's great. Full-size keys, good amount of travel, and they're backlit, but that backlight isn't as good as I wanted it to be. If you look at the keyboard from the side, you will see how uneven the backlight is. The light spills from under the keys, giving a feel of a cheap laptop. Why didn't Apple do it like on the butterfly keyboards? One LED for each button equals no light spillage. It's as simple as that, but instead you're paying $1,200 for the keyboard that in the dark looks like it's $600 laptop. I think this part needs tweaking. What else needs some work are the keys themselves. I don't know what sort of plastic Apple uses, but they basically disintegrate in your hands. Here is how keys look after only 3 months. You see how buttons get all glossy? That's natural wear. Here is how it will look after a year. I find that unsatisfactory. If you want to avoid those problems, you can connect an external keyboard, a display, and use the laptop in a clamshell mode. But you need to connect the laptop somehow to the screen, right? And connectivity is a problem here. There are only 2 USB-C ports. Some monitors have a built-in hub with ports, but not all of those monitors ship with appropriate cables. You may need an alternative, like this unlimited 4.0 USB 4 cable from Uni-Accessories, the sponsor of this video. It is fully USB-IF certified, which shows that this cable has passed all the tests and adheres to the highest standards of the industry. This USB-C to USB-C cable delivers proven Thunderbolt 3 performance, supports 100 watts of power delivery, 40 gigabits per second data transfer, and 8K video output. If you are not a MacBook user, you will definitely appreciate the support of 2 external monitors and MST support. You can easily connect it to data storage units and transfer files fast. Or you can hook your MacBook to a TV and enjoy a crisp detailed image. Aluminum ends allow for effective heat dissipation and fit snugly, assuring stable connection. The cable itself is braided, which gives it a nice, premium yet robust feel. If you have a cat, this chip is perfect. No cat can chew through it and get electrocuted. So if you are a cat owner, that's the option for you. Plus, it works not only with MacBooks. You can connect it to any USB-C device. Basically, it's a one-time purchase that will last years and years. To learn more about this cable, click the link in the description. Another flaw you need to know about is the support of only one external display. Apple allows connecting only one external screen, which might be a bummer for developers and programmers, but there is a workaround. You can connect one screen through the Thunderbolt port and another one through the Type-C dock. Or you can use DisplayLink adapters and connect up to 4 monitors, but such adapters cost a lot. It's not a very comfortable or intuitive solution to the problem that likely won't occur you. I'm pretty sure you won't need to connect more than one external display, but as they say, forewarned is forearmed. So, what are my final thoughts? The M2 MacBook Air is like those actors. They become insanely popular with one movie, and then with every new film you start seeing not only their abilities on set, but also some dirty secrets they wanted to hide. These 6 months were a hell of a ride. Can I recommend this laptop? To an extent. Light users who want to do nothing more than type texts or watch movies, feel free to get it, but in this case, won't the M1 Air be better? It's cheaper and performs largely identically. More heavy users who need power, upgrade the memory to 16 gigs or buy the 14-inch Pro. This MacBook is okay for basic stuff and stepping into the worlds of video editing, photo editing, 3D graphics or coding, but for any serious workflow, 14-inch MacBook Pro is the machine to go. Recommending this M2 Air is difficult because it's priced high in between some of Apple's best laptops. Cheap and great M1 Air and more expensive and super powerful 14-inch. This M2 Air is not for everyone. It's for those who want a stylish and modern machine and don't care about specs. It's for those who need a fashion accessory of sorts. That's the essence of this thing for me. Should people buy it? Yes. Should everyone buy it? No.